Hi, what's going on, folks?
Hope you guys are doing well out there.
Yes,
All right,
yes.
so tonight we are going to listen to part of a sermon from Dr. Tony Evans, and he's going to break down this CRT,
Yeah.
this critical race theory. You know what? I had not heard that word ever until like this year.
Me too, man. I guess it's something that been on the scene, but no one ever understood what it means. So he's going to kind of break it down.
But even I mean, like for me, I'm an educator, and I had never heard of it.
Me neither, man.
I mean, maybe it was there, but they never used it.
It was always there. It's just that
even
we
here
never
in
really
CRT.
paid attention to it.
Yeah, even here in CRT.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So he's going to give us a better understanding on it, a clear understanding on CRT. Very smart, man. I mean, we got a lot of respect for him, man.
And also,
a lot of knowledge.
Give an insight onto, how it entangles with BLM and how the underlying agenda for that as well. And
then also he gives you understanding on how it affects the Christian community as well, too. You know what I'm saying? Overall, everyone. That's what he said.
Overall, all
everyone.
people, yes.
All people.
That is correct. Yeah. All right, so like I said, this is just a portion of it.
Get it.
It's just a portion of it, but we got it.
You ready?
Let me give you a relevant illustration that you and all of us are participating in, be you white or black. As everyone knows, we now own the golf course across the street. That is 155 or so prime acres in the southwest section of Oak Cliff. Wow. I wanted us to buy that land, not having anything to do with golf, but controlling what happens in our community. So the motivation wasn't related to golf, it was related to kingdom influence in the community. But let me tell you the story of the golf course across the street. It used to be a farm. In mid-1950s, a man sold it, and it was purchased and turned into a golf course. The rule was black people could not play on the golf course. That was the rule. So we'll call that an unjust law. It then got turned over into membership ownership. So it was owned by like 100 members. The rule was, we don't have the law, because things were changing in society, we don't have the law that blacks can't be members, but we're going to set up a system that does not allow them to be members. So what the system was before you become a member, an existing member had to recommend you. Okay? But when the existing member recommended you, 2/3 of the membership had to vote for you. So let's say an Anglo man has a great black friend. Nothing about him is racist. And he goes to the club and he says, I want my African American friend to become a member of this club. Well, he's got to do that up against the system. And that system says 2/3 of us have to agree with the way you feel. And until 1994, no black would be voted in because of the system, not because there was this law, it was this system that came from a law.
Okay.
But let's say you're part of the 1/3, if you're Anglo, you're part of the 1/3 that voted to let him in. Well, you still lost because the 2/3 did not vote that way. Now, you could come out and argue, but I am not one of those people. I am not a racist. And you could be absolutely right, but the system that you are a part of is. Wow. And because you're part of that system, you get swept up, even though you're not a personal racist, and even though you voted the other way, because the system didn't allow your non-racist perspective to win. CRT is concerned with systems that operate unfairly in all of these different areas, that doesn't allow in health for people to get good food or proper care or whatever them, because systems were set up that have rollover effect even if people in the system are not personally racist. So when a person says, I am not a racist, they could be absolutely true, but CRT is concerned with the system, not with an individual person. So you make that distinction. So that is the concept of CRT. Now, that's fine. That deals with laws, that deals with infiltration, that deals with contemporary effects. So far, so good. Probably don't have too much of a problem there until the iterations set in. So this is where it gets interesting.
Okay.
In August 2019, Nicole Hannah Jones wrote a series of articles in the New York Times Magazine, and it became known as the 1619 Project. In Jamestown, Virginia, in August of 1619, 20 African American slaves came to this country as indentured servants, meaning you work for so many years and then you can work out your freedom. Mm-hmm. But they came. When these 20 or so slaves came, that led to a growth in slave trade. To make a long story short, where indentured servantry was replaced with slavery, which was cheap or free labor, in order for the profitability and the economic development through workers here in the colonies. The 1619 Project said that the American Revolution was not about freedom from England. The American Revolution was about 13 colonies preserving slavery. So the 1619 Project says America really didn't begin in 1776. America began in 1619, when slavery was first introduced, codified. So there's a Revolutionary War because the 13 colonies want to be free from England for the purpose of not having England interfere with the economic productivity of slavery.
Wow, on that movie that you watched.
So they threw a whole nother concept into the race discussion. And when they threw this concept, now the issue became the definition of America. Does America exist for freedom from English tyranny, or does America exist to protect slavery? Wow. Well, once that happened, follow me now, that got plugged into CRT. CRT was concerned about racist laws. CRT was not concerned with 1619. 1619 came after CRT, but it got plugged into it. So now the issue is CRT saying that America was established to be a racist nation? So now CRT has gotten pregnant with a bigger issue about the definition of America. May 2020, George Floyd is killed in Minneapolis, Minnesota. When George Floyd is killed in Minneapolis, Minnesota, there is this national outcry about systemic racism, particularly related to police brutality and the like, and the growth of Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter, though, is two things, not one. It's an emphasis and an entity.
So I didn't know that.
It's a movement and an organization.
You know that?
The move.
I didn't know that.
Me either. I thought it was just one thing, and it wasn't a thing.
So
that
he pretty much
focused
gonna break it down. What is Black Lives Matter?
What is it?
You know,
because what were they about?
What's the two? You know what I'm saying? I thought it was just one.
Because it's one
person, one thing, yeah.
That focused on
Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives
but
Matter.
Evidently it's not that.
But it's not that.
Yeah.
Because one had an agenda for good.
One had an agenda against racism, but
really,
and then you have one that has an agenda for the gay community. So it combined into one. That's what he's gonna break down right now. Because I didn't understand it when I heard this. I was like,
"Wow." Have to do with LGBTQI?
He gonna explain that it's two.
Are they the
it's
same?
It's like having. You know,
it's
like me going to It's like me going to start a business, right? And there's already a name out there, and I put my name up under that person. Kind of like Rick Ross. You remember Rick Ross had this issue with a guy having this. Rick Ross started.
Oh,
Rick Ross.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
He had an issue with another guy named Rick Ross, and the guy got out of prison and said, "You took my name." You know what I'm saying? So it's like with this, it's like Black BLM was already existing, and Black Lives Matter came about, and they kind of went together on it. That's what he finna explain.
Okay.
Maybe he'll explain a little better than me.
Okay. Okay.
Movement said the lives of black people matter. In the same way that white evangelicals would say the lives of the unborn matter, or all of us as evangelicals say that. The lives of the unborn matter. Well, Black Lives Matter, okay? So there was this movement. Out of the movement, or concurrent and concomitant with the movement, is an entity that says Black Lives Matter, but they both use the same name. So when you say Black Lives Matter, are you talking about the movement? You talking about the entity? You talking about both? Well, because the entity, Black Lives Matter, if you look it up on the web, wants to dissolve the black nuclear family, because the entity wants to promote transgender rights. And they say this. That's
Can I rewind that part?
Wow, go ahead, rewind it, man.
Because
rewind it.
I just
That's good. That's good information.
It is good information. I mean,
entity that says Black Lives Matter, but they both use the same name.
People,
so when you say Black Lives,
that's what's tripping me out, because anytime you start a business, you can't use the name of another business.
Right.
So I'm trying to figure out how.
Okay, in the state of Florida, on sunbeds, they make you check to see if another company has that name. And if another company has that name, you cannot take it.
Unless they did like BLM Inc. and BLM LLC. Did that make a difference?
Or just BLM, right?
Okay. So
but
then because they
have
their
two
name,
different, but they have two different agendas.
Man, I think they came in with an agenda. That's they got together and came in with an agenda. Okay, since we're dealing with the LGBN community, now we're dealing with the Black Lives Matter. We'll join this in together, which is smart. So you got the BLM, which is Black Lives Matter, but they tearing up everything. That makes sense. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments. They're tearing up everything. You got the original BLM that started out there for the gay community. So they say, hey, look, let's squeeze this thing in together. So now that we squeezing it together, we got more people out there protesting.
But one covered up the others, hidden agenda more. It seemed like
I don't think so, because Candace Owens,
it
did at the time.
Candace
Owens brought it out.
She did expose it. Yes, she did expose it.
And pretty much the only person that really just put it out there, man. Hey, let me do some research on this thing, and she got her stuff together.
She put it
she
together.
She made it do what it do, man. She really did, man.
But you said LGBN.
LGB, who it is? What is it? LGBTQ? I keep messing it up, man. I mess it up all the time, man. I try to write it down. I don't know why I can't remember it.
It's not important.
No, it is. I do need to remember LGBTQ. That's right. I still mess it up. Hey, y'all help me, man. Help me.
Yeah, type in the comments.
She not gonna even help me. She's not gonna help me out either. I want to write it down. I got a pen right here. So I'm hoping she say it so I can write it down. What is it?
LGBTQ.
Where you got the C from?
I didn't say C.
What you said?
I said LGBTQ.
BTQ. You know what? I'm gonna stick with LGB.
No,
When they add the TQ.
no. This is LGBTN, babe. You good?
LGBTN.
Yeah.
It's no N.
That's what you said.
You know what? She trying to embarrass me on YouTube.
No, I'm not.
Yes, she is,
No,
man.
I'm not.
It's all good though.
No, I'm not. No, listen. If y'all don't know by now, this is us. We like this all day long.
All right, so let's get it. I got it written down, so I'm gonna say the right thing throughout this whole video. Now, the next video, if it's not written down, I'm gonna mess it up. Let's get it.
Okay. All right, I'm being serious. Okay. I'm listening.
Does it matter? Are you talking about the movement? You talking about the entity? You talking about both? Well, because the entity, Black Lives Matter, if you look it up on the web, wants to dissolve the black nuclear family, because the entity wants to promote transgender rights. Yes. And they say this. Ooh-wee. That's the entity. But you got an entity and a movement using the same name. It gets plugged into CRT. So CRT is growing now. On one side, there's 1619 plugged into it. On another side, there's the Black Lives Matter. So now, if you're against Black Lives Matter, the entity, you could also be accused of being against Black Lives Matter, the movement. Yeah. Because folks are not necessarily making the distinction. Yep. If you agree with the movement, you could be accused of agreeing with the entity. And all of that gets plugged into CRT. Wow. Something else comes to the forefront. Are y'all with me now? I hope I'm not boring you. It's so something else comes to the forefront. Because the originators of CRT, some are overtly Marxist, some are more socialist than Marxist, and we can get into a discussion between the difference between socialism, communism, fascism, and all of that. But to varying degrees are Marxists. At the core of Marxism, to make a long story short, is dividing people into tribes, into groups, into divisions. Marx would call it the proletariat, the worker, versus the bourgeoisie. So what are you seeing today in schools? A clash. What are you seeing today? Whites feeling like you're calling me part of the oppressor. I haven't done anything. Blacks feeling you calling me part of the oppressed. You got one group that wants CRT. You got another group that's against CRT because it's gotten now convoluted. In other words, the firecracker has exploded now. And it's all over the place. And we are divided because now the disciples of these movements, depending on their own bent toward Black Lives Matter, their own bent toward 1619, their own bent toward Marxist philosophy, when they talk about CRT, they'll put that spin on it. And so when parents hear this in the schools, white parents are saying, what are you doing teaching my child this? Some black parents are raising up, what are you doing teaching my child this? Then you have the other side, the teachers union, say, we're going to teach this because we need to teach true history. Well, the problem is so much has gotten attacked to it and convoluted it that it is now taking on a whole new life of definition. So this problem of race, and there's so much we could talk about, I don't have time to go to it. I mean, when I started getting on radio, there was a system in place. All the Christian radio stations across the nation, they would not let on a daily black speaker. But not because there was a law, but because there was a system. And that system would not allow for it. And one told me why. He says, the reason we can't let on a black speaker daily is that would offend too many of our white listeners. Okay? So he gave me some insight.
But even if he delivered the message, just because the race,
But you got, just like you said, he said people get caught up into the system.
Yeah.
The guy had to do his job.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because he's like, man, if I put you on the L, I'm
gonna
like,
lose.
I'm not gonna get fired, man. But I'm gonna let you know, since you're a cool guy, man. This is why I can't do this, man. That's being straightforward.
Now he was transparent with it, but hey, wow. But he still got the word out there, so that's the thing.
Yeah.
At school, and so we set up a system where we just don't have room. We don't have times available. We don't have, so you get these denials, and of course God will rule that. But the point is that there were systems in place that weren't necessarily based on laws, and CRT at its root wants to track how that is showing up today in different ways. And I don't know how I'm gonna get through all this stuff, but anyway, that's some of the, see, because now it's been blown up. I didn't get into intersectionality, because now all other kind of things, sexism has gotten attached to it, and transgender has gotten attached to it, and now you got critical sex theories and all that gets plugged into critical race theory. So it's now all over the place.
Yes.
We're leaving lack of clarity, confusing Christians. Christians across racial lines are divided on this thing. My phone's blowing up from all over the country. What are we going to do? My congregation is divided. I got parents calling me saying the black kids or the white kids, we used to play together and not think about it. Now we can't even have fellowship because we got voices coming over here and voices coming over there, and now it's interfered with our personal relationships and all of that. That's because of the iterations have taken one thing, blown it up, made it a bigger thing. The bigger thing is confusing, and it is infiltrated now all or many or most of the sectors of society, including the military. So now everybody's talking about critical race, but they don't know what they're talking about, because they could be talking about any iteration of critical race, which means they're never going to agree. Yeah. So that's where we are. Now, where do we go with this? All right, I would like to propose, in humility, the Tony Evans theory. And I'm going to call it KRT. Not CRT, KRT. KRT, Kingdom Race Theology. All right? All right. So let me define Kingdom Race Theology. I define Kingdom Race Theology as the reconciled recognition, affirmation, and celebration of the divinely created ethnic differences through which God displays his multifaceted glory as his people justly, righteously, and responsibly function personally and corporately in unity under the lordship of Jesus Christ. Okay?
That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
That's the definition.
When he said it,
My concern.
When he was saying that, I thought about Jeffrey Peterson. What he was saying, that's awesome. That is awesome.
Oh, Jesse Lee.
Jesse Lee Peterson.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
Is that we as Christians will spend so much time fighting off of CRT, we don't get around the KRT. Now let me defend my new thing. Okay. Go to Ephesians 2. Ephesians 2. And I'll walk through this and hit the high points. Therefore, remember that formerly you, the Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by the so-called circumcision. Okay? That's the way the Jews, the circumcision, called the Gentiles. They called them names. They called them the N-word. The Jews, circumcision, would look at a Gentile and call them uncircumcision. And sometimes they call them uncircumcised dogs. So it was a demeaning. This is Paul writing the Christians at Ephesus.
Wow.
These are Jews.
What if it was a woman?
Huh? It didn't matter because if you wasn't a part of a Jewish community, you was considered a Gentile.
But what is you a woman?
You still considered a Gentile. Gentile is a Gentile.
Women can't get circumcised.
You talking about circumcised? It still didn't matter. You have to remember back in the days,
right?
It dealt with men more. You know what I'm saying? Women, you guys were like, okay, it's more of a deeper submission. You know what I'm saying? Can I say it like that?
Well, I understand.
A little bit up under the man. You know what I'm saying?
I got you. We was kind of running. Okay, thank you.
You know what I'm saying?
All right, thank you.
Jews and Gentiles in the same church. And Paul says, y'all used to call each other names. Mm-hmm. You know why they did? Because that was their history.
Yep.
Their background. It was their reality. Black and whites have a history. And it included laws and name calling and oppression. The Jews were privileged.
But it seems like that's happening again today. The name calling.
It's been going
like when
on,
Ken.
man.
I mean, he just said that.
I like how he's not only just dealing with
one side of it,
the world, but he's dealing with the church too.
Yes.
That makes sense. He's dealing with the overall picture.
Right.
He's talking to Christians. He's talking about anybody in this world. Period.
Yeah, but it seems. I guess it's like it's coming back around because like with the Candace Beret story we did, it's like name calling with that because she doesn't agree with same-sex marriage.
Yeah. Or
when they name call with Candace Owens or Jesse Lee, it's just the same thing. These people just the name calling.
No, the thing is that if you go back before the LGBTQ, I got it written down right here. That's maybe say it right. Hey, stop hating on me. Stop hating on me. You want to give it to me at first.
You got this big dog.
See, the people in the comments want to do me like you would do me. See, I'm sitting here. Can you give it to me? I'm putting a shoulder like, can you just give it to me? Give it to me. And she knew what she was doing. But before the LGBTQ community came about, it was a big thing about how gay people was being treated, which was right. You know, they was getting killed.
No, you don't beat up somebody because
they was
of their,
and I'm saying that they was getting killed, so they had to put something in place to kind of help them out, right? So you have people, bullying gay people. People up trans, they was just bullying them. They talked down on them, treat them like they was trash, which is not right. So they started this organization. They built an organization. Now, just like you said, a young lady she wanted to do a traditional movies, right? For marriages. Now it's like it's reverse. They're bullying people now. Think about it. They're bullying people. They're saying, hey, because you want to do a traditional movie on marriage, we're gonna get with you. Why not allow her to make her own decision like everyone is allowing you guys to do what you want to do? Simple as that, man. You know what I'm saying? So let's not bully one another. And like I said, this channel is all about love. I'm not beating nobody down. Mm-mm. I love everybody. So at the end of the day, no one should be bullying each other. You grown, make your own decision.
You can have disagreements.
Yeah,
you can have disagreements. We don't all,
it's agree to disagree.
Exactly. Exactly. We're not happily married.
But you see how it shifted. See how it shifted.
I pay him.
But you see how it shifted, right? What you talking about?
I said you're not happily married because I paid you.
Oh. But other than that, you ain't help me out with this right here. But other than that,
but yeah, I get what you're saying. No.
But you see how it shifted. Yeah. Before it was before they started the organization, it was always beating them down. You see murderers, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times people were scared to tell another individual that they was a man because they really liked the person and they get them, they have sex with them, then they get embarrassed. You know what I'm saying? Then they want to go back and kill that person. Which I think that you have to let people know. That you're transgender.
Like before, like transgender thing.
You gotta let people know. And now it's like, I'm glad that they're coming out and saying, "Hey, look, this. I'm coming out."
But that doesn't mean that you force your lifestyle on people.
That's the problem I have with that.
As a Christian,
you turn around from being bullied to turn around and bully.
Yeah,
that's my problem with that. But whatever.
Ready?
Yeah.
All right.
They had benefits that the Gentiles did not possess. But now the Gentiles have entered in, and Paul has to make this point. Y'all are now Christians. You're going to the same church, so it's time for new rules.
Yeah.
In other words, I know you got your background. I know they used to call you names. I know there was racial division, and there's a lot of racial issues in the Bible. I know all of that, but let me tell you how we're going to move forward from here.
Forward.
He says, call the uncircumcision by the so-called circumcision. Remember that you were at times separated from Christ, excluded from the commonwealth. But here's the word, beginning in verse 13. But now. I know how it was. I know how bad it was.
Yes.
I know they didn't like you.
Yes.
I know they had benefits you didn't have.
Yes.
But now. He now is going to give a Christocentric perspective, a kingdom, if you will, centered perspective. In Christ, you who were formerly far off, have been brought near by the blood of Christ. Now watch this, verse 14. He himself is our peace, who made both groups into one, broke down the barrier of the dividing wall. Look at the end of verse 15. Make the two groups into one new man, thus establishing peace. Verse 16, reconcile them both into one body. Verse 17, preach peace to you who were far off, you who've been isolated, and peace to those who were near, the Jews. Verse 18, in one spirit to the Father. Verse 19, no longer strangers, outcasts, second-class citizens, aliens, but you are fellow citizens with the saints of God's household. Verse 22, being built together into a dwelling place of God. My two words are but now. Now here's the deal. If you're spending more time discussing CRT than you are KRT, that is this, then you've been tricked by the world. You should know about it. You should understand it. I've tried to give you a brief overview, but no. He says, no, we got to start now. We got the history. He even says we were name calling, but now in Christ, there are new rules. And if you will abide by the new rules of Christ, we will create something new. So while they're fighting out there, we have peace in here because we're operating on one new man. When I drink my coffee, I got black coffee, but I got white cream. I got black coffee, but I got white cream. Well, what I do is I put white cream in black coffee. When I put white cream in black coffee, I got something new. Because what I started with is not how it looks right now. What was white and black is now brown because I have put something new together which makes it drinkable for me. God can't drink what we're offering him because black people are offering him black, white people are offering him white, and God said, you better put some cream up in this coffee. One new man. We are to be crafting something new. But let me make sure you understand. God is not colorblind. I know people that, well, we need to be colorblind. No, you don't. God is not colorblind. Revelation 5:9, Revelation 7:9. John says, I saw people from every nation, every tribe, every kindred, and every tongue, and I could see their differences. God is not colorblind, but he doesn't want us to be blinded by color. He doesn't want our hue to define our relationship. We are going to be different. We're supposed to be different, but he says Christ is supposed to be all in all. So the issue are what are his rules, kingdom rules, that all of us are so supposed to abide by. And he says, when you decide to do that, you become part of one new man. When an orchestra is warming up and everything, and they're warming up, it's discord, it's just noise. This instrument's playing this, it's just noise. Until a conductor comes out. The conductor comes out and he taps down, everybody gets silent, and now what was noise is now a song.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
But the instruments aren't the same.
Oh, no.
There's the saxophone, there's the violin, there's the piano. All the instruments were as different then as they are now. What's the difference? The conductor has come out. And once the conductor is coming out, he is controlling what the instruments are playing. Right. Even though the instruments are still different, but they're playing his song. Exactly. See, what we've got is black.
Love that breakdown.
Yeah.
That was powerful.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's just that we all different colors.
We all want to play the flutes.
We may be all different colors, but we all can make one sound.
Yeah.
If we should stick together. That's what he's saying, man. Even, and it's a lot of people may not be Christians, but we still can stick together.
Yeah.
It's like,
what's your instrument?
Somebody
make some music.
Somebody next door, across the street from me, may be Buddhism, right? Buddhist, whatever, Buddhist. And you may have somebody across, maybe a Satan. Well, Satan, hope not. Satan. But the thing
Why
is
would
that
you go there?
I'm going there because
it's Catholic.
Well, Catholic, whatever. But we got different people living in this subdivision, right? Mm-hmm. But how we stick together is that we try to keep the community looking good. Yes. So if I got paper in my yard, I'm gonna pick my paper up out of my yard. If I see it in the streets, I'm gonna pick it up. You may have a person across the street picking up paper too. That's Buddhism. You might have Satanism, whatever you want to call them. I'm not, because it is people like that.
I know.
Just picking up paper.
Wiccan and all those things, yeah.
We all can work together when it comes to building each other up in the community. Yeah. They go back in they go back in their house and do Buddhism. I go back in my house and do relationship with God. Yeah. And the Satanism go back in his house and do his thing. But we still making our community look good. Yes. That's what I'm saying.
It's a common goal. I mean, it's like a classroom too. Yeah. We're encouraged to teach the children the curriculum, right? Yeah. But not every child learns the curriculum the same as another student. So we have to differentiate that instruction so that other child can get the same quality education. Yeah. That's like me saying, okay, everybody in the classroom is going to get a 10-question test today. Mm-hmm. But there may be like 4 or 5 kids in that classroom that cannot take all those 10 questions, but they can take 5 of those questions. Yeah. And then I may have another child that may not be able to even write out their answer. Mm-hmm. But if I ask them the question and verbally, they can give me a response. So I have to differentiate my instruction to deal with each one of these students' different learning styles. Mm-hmm. And that's just how we have to look at our community. Like you said, with our different religious backgrounds, we do that in the classroom too.
Yeah, exactly.
Because when these kids come to school, you parents, if you have kids in school or had kids in school, you know that if your child had a disability, you want them taught so they can get. That
made me think about something. It's like you get a Jehovah's Witness in your class, a child, they can't celebrate different, like Christmas.
Right. So we have to send a letter home or something like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just to show that respect. Mm-hmm. We had our Christmas party, and instead of us, saying a prayer or whatever, we just did a moment of silence, so that way you can pray if there's something amongst yourself. Yeah. Or if you didn't pray, hey, you can just sit there quietly. But it wasn't pushed on anybody to say, hey, we said we about to pray, bow your head.
I mean, that's the thing, man. You said somebody commented on our channel. They said because we are Christians, they couldn't, they don't want to follow us. And I was like, I get what.
Well, no, they didn't say. But the person they said they believe in the Bible and everything, but they just really didn't want to get down with the whole Christianity thing or something like that right there. Okay, I mean, I think they didn't say if they subbed or not, but they just said something about how they hear what we're saying, but they still don't really, do Bible like that.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, if you don't, that's cool. We still love you, but just get the information. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's about.
But it's still about your personal relationship, and how you want to build that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Black and white playing their own songs. Well, you can do that in the world if you want to still cuss and fuss and fight. But in the kingdom of God, we're playing his song. And when we're playing his song, you can use your own racial instrument as long as you're playing his song. And so what he is saying is, I am after one new man. And in this new man, the Bible makes it clear, racism, as we've defined it, not racial differences, is to never be tolerated. Okay, but now let's make sure we understand. Because of history, there are racial sensitivities. Okay? I was talking to a gentleman. He was about 5 years younger than me, Anglo guy. And I was talking to him at the house. And in the conversation, he called me boy. Okay? Now,
Would you always tell me boy played on Tarzan? I'd be like, okay, boy. Boy played on Tarzan.
there's a history to boy and black people. Okay? For those of you who don't know that history, it goes all the way back where old men would be called boy by kids because they were black and the kids were white. Yeah. And so they had the privilege of demeaning an older man. So there's a history. So when he said boy, I felt that. Okay? Because there's history to the term. Yeah. So I felt that, and I'm debating now. Do I say something, and do I sound like a Christian when I say it? Do I say something? No, just kidding. Now, a few minutes later, another guy comes in who's like my age, who's white. And he called him boy. When he called him boy, it changed how I looked at him. I looked at him one way because I just heard boy. But when I saw him do that to his own race, who was my age, then I concluded, well, this is evidently how he talks. But because I had sensitivity that I didn't have clarity on, I reacted out of my sensitivity. When blacks, whites come together, they come together with the sensitivity. The reason why we have a talk with our boys, the talk, is because of sensitivities. When a police comes up behind me, I've had experiences of being pulled over, being asked, why are you in this neighborhood? So that creates a sensitivity. And when I know how some might feel toward African Americans, that sensitivity is there at a higher level. Now, that policeman may not be racist. He may be as scared as me as I am of him. Okay? And he may not be, but the sensitivities are there.
You know what?
That's why it's...
like today when we was dropping something off for my daughter and the police made a U-turn and came behind us, because I'm so used to getting pulled over when I was younger, I felt it a little bit, and my wife be like, no, you ain't doing nothing wrong. What's the problem? But I was so used to getting pulled over, man, you know, and getting pretty much shook down, whatever, you know, and that's just what I was used to. So I'm sensitive in that area. And
what neighborhood? What neighborhood were we in?
Hood.
We were in the hood.
Yeah. And
he just got a brand new truck. And I understand that he felt that way because the policeman made a U-turn. It's like, okay, well, he made a U-turn.
Man,
me, I was like, drive the truck.
That's the thing.
We're not doing anything wrong.
You're not used to that. You're not used to that.
I don't care, whatever.
I used to get put over so much, man. I had one guy, and I think I told this story before, pulled me over. He said, if you was playing country music, I wouldn't pull you over. I said, okay, fine, good, okay, all right. And it didn't bother me. I just wanted him to do it, write his ticket, and let me go, man. That's it. That was the main thing, you know. So I understand that you're sensitive about certain things, especially if you don't went through some stuff. Yeah. You know, it's called, I think they call it PTSD, right? Mm-hmm. I said the right thing. Okay, all right, PTSD. I ain't had to write that down. I said the right thing, guys. But I think that a lot of times we're dealing with that. Yeah. You know, and after I thought about it, I said, you know what, I ain't doing nothing wrong.
Yeah, we just kept on driving. I said, take me to the hair store so I can get my stuff. All my stuff
is right. What's the problem?
That's all I was trying to do.
It just get to a point where you kind of. I used to be worse. I think I got a little better.
He has gotten better, y'all.
Even to a point when I was buying a truck one time, and I told this story to my wife, and the guy was like, I was talking to him. I said, yeah, man, that's a nice truck, man. And he said, man, you know what, man? Let me tell you about that guy at the top place, man. No offense to you, but I hate that end. I looked at him, and I'm thinking,
the whole word.
He said the whole word. He said the whole word. Now I looked at him, and I looked at me, and I'm like,
but he did say no offense to you.
Yeah, but I'm still a black person. I'm like, you comfortable saying that in front of me? And I thought about it. I said, you know what, man? I'm here to do business. And I'm not going to get offended. But I told a couple of my friends that, man, I would have bought a little truck for him. I said, man, it's a good running truck. Listen, man, I know I'm not that. I'm here to buy a truck. That's it, man. And I think that there's growth.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you called me when I was a hothead, 20 years old, then I'd probably be like, man, what you should say, man? You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I don't let that word dictate who I am.
But like I told Jordan that too. I said you don't own that word. Like it's not. I would say, but I'm glad that you realized that too, because hey, it was a nice, very good running truck.
Yeah, took care of that truck.
No problem with that truck.
At least in the body of Christ, and our racial commitment to each other has to, through the Bible, give deference to people creating the opportunity to either correct or to clarify. Because when you don't do that, you could be passing illegitimate judgment. Okay? Some people do what they do because of the system they're in, not because of the person they are. But if you take the system and put the system on top of the person, you may be letting a system judge a person when the person is not agreeing with the system. And unless that exists, at least within the church, within the body of Christ, we will not have the kind of impact and influence that God wants us to have. Paul corrected Peter when Peter was a racist. God corrected Miriam when she objected to Moses marrying a black wife. Moses married a black wife. God turned Miriam white because of her rebellion against a God-ordained, a God-authorized relationship. So God judges sin. So sin of racism.
So.
You so silly.
So Mary was black. She got mad because Moses married a black woman, right?
Black woman.
So he turned her white. I shouldn't be laughing at that.
God is awesome, I tell you that.
Man, that's
like,
funny,
what?
man. That is funny.
I gotta read that part of the Bible.
Me too, man.
You know what part it is? I'm gonna look it up.
Find it.
Okay, we have to find that one. But right there, I heard him say it. I was like, wait, what? Okay. Wait.
He probably turned into albino or something.
I think he turned a white.
Let
me do albino people like that.
They call it white privileges. They should have white privileges there. Back then in the Bible, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that back then.
Wait, was she black at first?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. So if she was white, he turned a white.
Right.
That's albino.
He turned a clear.
Albino. All right, let's get it.
All right, if y'all know what scripture that is, please post it in the comments. We're going to have to look that one up, though, because I need to see about that one, because Miriam was his sister.
Yeah.
Was that Moses' sister?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to look that one up. Yeah. I got to read that one.
So Moses wasn't white. Moses was a Jew. So if she turned it, so Jews have more of like a brown skin. Mm-hmm. So the black person, they have more of a dark. Africans have more of a darker skin, very dark skin, kind of like this. Because so you turn on the light, you couldn't see like the shirt. You could stop, but she was more dark, so you can kind of tell the difference. So he said, "Look, God said, listen, man, you ain't gonna be brown skin no more, albino." Albino.
All right, guys. Well, seriously, if you guys know which part of the Bible that he's talking about, please post it in the comments. We're gonna do that. We're gonna look that one up.
Racism should not be skipped. It should be judged, but it must always be done with the biblical principle of love, where we give the opportunity to correct or to clarify, so that we come with an understanding. The Church of Jesus Christ right now is a bad testimony to the healing that needs to occur in our country and in our culture. Well, that may be true out there, but it won't be true at Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship. Because we are one new man, okay? And the white person or the Indian person or because we're predominantly African American, or the Hispanic person is to be given as much value as much significance, as much embracing as you would do a black brother or a black sister. Why? Here's why. Because I'm crucified with Christ, nevertheless I live, yet not I, it's Christ who lives in me. The life which I now live, I live by the faith of the Son of God. Here's the principle. When your race trump God's word, you have made your race an idol. When your race trumps God's word, you've made your race an idol, and God rejects idolatry. Okay? Whether it's white privilege idolatry or whether it's black overreaction idolatry, like the movement, Black Lives Matter. Not the emphasis, but the movement. That becomes idolatry, okay? And so where you have idolatry, God rejects it. But now this thing is all over the place. It's now in politics. It's now in all kind of division. It's all now in social arenas, educational arenas, and it may not be able to be fixed out there. I don't know. They're trying, but they don't agree. So when they don't agree, can two walk together unless they agree? Bible says no. Our key is to agree in here, and let it be known what our agreement is out there. To stick with God's standard. To tell history and tell the truth. You don't marginalize it. You don't whitewash it. You tell the truth, the whole truth. You know, slavery was horrible. And then Jim Crow, you got 4,500 men who were slaughtered. You got Black Wall Street, who was burned down. You got Rosewood, a whole town that was burned down simply for illegitimate racial reasons. You go on and on and on. You don't skip those stories. You don't pretend like they're not in history. But you must move forward to one new man. Okay? So that's where we are going.
Ooh, that was pretty good, man. I enjoyed that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
Good information, man. CRT, man.
CRT,
Yeah,
BLM, the hidden agenda or the not so hidden agendas. It's
man, you gave some good information, BLM, man. I mean, which I know already.
Yeah, we kind of knew the history of that with the Candace Owens thing. But of course, just to hear a better breakdown of it, you know, just to get the biblical, you know, background to it too, because if you always thought that way, what is a better way to help you change your thinking of something? Yeah, you know, I mean, he broke it down really, really well.
I mean, and the thing is, sorry to cut y'all, all this confusion is really affecting the next generation, which is the youth, and it's ridiculous, man. I mean, you go on TikTok, whatever, and you know, I was talking to my friend today. It's like, I said, man, it's like TikTok is like Pornhub now. You know what I'm saying? At nighttime, you know, you go in at 10 o'clock at nighttime, you got somebody bouncing their booty up. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I think about the kids, because every child has a phone in their hand, and they're exposed to this stuff, man. So as parents, we have to kind of make sure we keep an eye on our kids, you know, because you know, entertainment gonna be entertainment. People gonna put stuff out there. Some things you can't keep them from, but let's do our best to try to, you know, manage what they're watching, you know, and that's pretty much all I got, man. And, and on top of that, just let's stick together, you know. Ain't nothing wrong with sticking together.
No, it's nothing wrong with you know, disagreeing.
Yeah, agreeing to disagree.
Agreeing to disagree. You know, what you say? What is it? Chew the meat, spit out the bones. Yeah. Because some things that I say, he may not, you know, agree with, and some things that that he says I may not agree with, but it's something in whatever you said that it's like, God dog it, he was semi-right. But I'm gonna give him his credit for it.
She don't say it out loud.
I don't say it out loud. It's hidden.
I never know about it.
I just told y'all my secret.
Yeah, I never know about it.
But agree to disagree. You know, chew it up, the meat, spit out the bones.
Yeah, chew the meat, spit out the bones. Yeah.
All right, YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe and check us out.
Peace.